Welcome everyone. God, it's been a while since I've done a Facebook Live, and it feels good to be back. To be honest, it feels like a different kind of energy, you know. Um, and the title is it's very fitting to the kind of mind state I've been in and coming out of in a very deep way recently. I've been doing a lot of shadow work, and I've noticed that the terminology shadow work has become popular in popular culture. On YouTube videos, people are talking about shadow work, and it's Jungian, the Carl Jung philosophy on life and things like that. And a lot of different faith-based communities have really started developing their own quote-unquote shadow work kind of program, blueprint. And I've noticed that in our Muslim communities, we have yet to even touch upon this topic of shadow work. Because every time we think of shadow work, jinns get, put along the conversation, black magic and shadow work and jinns, and you can't communicate with them, and it gets put in that part of our faith that we just kind of put aside in our own shadow. We don't want to talk about these things, but it's like, it's crazy because the same mindset I've had since I was in sixth grade, 15 years old. The amount of information I knew about what angels are and jinns and the afterlife and all these things, it's given, the same information has been given over and over. It's like repeating itself. It's not going deeper. It's not getting to the root of esoteric Islam about why. Not just because we have to do this. It's like the why is there now. See? You don't just have to believe. It's like you have to know. You can't just believe anymore. You can't just believe something is going to do some good to you and you have no idea how. Then that means you're being told what to do. You're not doing it from that knowing from within. And this is what shadow work is. Shadow work is dealing with that aspect of you. So for the past few months, I've been doing shadow work where I've been dealing with aspects of myself that I have put aside or suppressed in the shadow. For example, I don't want to get too personal, but okay, this is the aspect. I think it's very common. What is your shadow, first of all? It's your nafs. That's your nafs. That's what they call the ego and the super ego and the id. Well, the nafs is the physical manifestation of everything in the mental plane. The thought. How you think about yourself is how you are going to project yourself to society, is how you're going to do certain tasks. Do you believe you have special abilities to be this great person, or do you think you're just useless, and you've been told you're useless, and you've been told you can only do these 5 things and that's what success is? See, we build a nafs and a definition around that nafs, and throughout our lives subconsciously, the nafs is the shadow, and 95% of the time your decision is made by your shadow, your nafs, subconscious mind. See, the subconscious mind is in control 95% of the time, but the subconscious mind is in the subconscious. See, it's like it's the shadow realm. It's the shadow aspect of you, because if you have suppressed your nafs, and at one point we have to suppress it in order to teach it lessons. and then to allow that nafs to grow like a snake, sheds its skin, otherwise it can't grow. A lobster will shed its skin. It's kind of like the nafs is the physical body. It has to detox. It's constantly producing new cells. It's constantly regenerating itself, right? I mean, our human bodies, that's what they do. It's constantly being burned. The skin is being burned by the atmosphere, by all these things, right? And but we're growing new skin. It's like we're being put back to life every day. It's like in hell, your skin will be reproduced over and over again. But it's like if you stay in that certain state of consciousness, you won't grow at all. You will just become more and more dense in the separation of from the divine. And working on your shadow, it integrates all aspects of you. So the shadow deals with the human aspects of ourself, like survival, sexuality, creativity, pleasure. When you eat something and you taste all those things, it's not the soul that's being satisfied. It's the nafs. It's the body that is producing those chemicals and dopamines and all those things. And if you aren't aware of these processes at a level of the soul, then your nafs will live only to promote its shadows, life, which is an illusion, which is the nafs. The nafs is only something that is terrestrial in this dunya. It's not going to continue on to the next life, to the next transition of the soul. The nafs is just an illusion. The real life is the soul. That soul is eternal. The soul is connected to the divine because it is the aspect of the source itself. It's not outside of the divine. So when you're working with the shadow, you have to work with certain assumptions, certain understanding that you are a vessel that can invoke energies, that can invoke certain levels of awareness. And that it's done through meditation, it's done through prayer, it's done through going within, to having the body, the nafs submit to the higher self, which is connected to, from your heart, your heart center, but a open third eye, a active energy body that is flowing with the creation, that is healthy, that is aware, that knows the illusion. That is a state that ultimately everyone has to get to and wants to get to and understand, so they don't have anxiety, so they don't have depression and all these physical illusionary concepts that are attached to the dunya, attached to the physical nafs. The feeling of sadness, pain, all those things are attached to the body, attached to the feelings. But our soul is intertwined with the nafs. And we have to, doing shadow work, the healthy way is basically separating it, but separating it in a way where it's like covering it, like a mother covers a cold child, in the middle of the night. The mother is the higher self, the soul, covering it, dark with darkness, right? You cover it with darkness. Like when the prophet came from the cave, he got covered by Aisha, his first, Aisha, no, not whatever, Khadija, Khadija, peace be upon her. She covered him because he's like, cover me, something's wrong with me, and then she covered him. She's the feminine aspect. The feminine aspect covers the masculine aspect, which is the masculine is the end result of anything feminine. See, feminine is creativity, it is imagination, it is empathy, it is sympathy, it is the connection to the fourth dimension. See, it's a connection to the fourth dimension, and the fifth dimension is the connection to thought, to where the thought comes from. See, if you're hungry, Where is that thought coming from? What dimension is it coming from? Most likely it's coming from the physical body. It's coming from your your stomach, which actually the liver. All pleasures and all like jealousy and like, all those that thoughts of like anger, and it comes from the liver. It literally comes from the liver. Like the saying, I love you from all my heart. Well, the love of the pleasure of sex and desire and wanting security and of the dunya pleasures, that comes from the liver. But the love of brotherhood, sisterhood, and love of like the divine, that's from the heart. So shadow work is working from your soul, working on the body, on the nafs, on the shadow aspect, but not in a way where the shadow gets scared and is scared of. It's like your inner child that's scared. Imagine you have a child or a runaway child that's raised in the ghetto, and it's 6, 7 years old, and now you're the adult. There's an adult coming in, wants to train this child to grow up into a healthy, psychologically sound, understands their place in the dunya and its illusion. It's a tool. The nafs is a tool. It's not a master. It makes an amazing tool for the dunya, but it's not a good master. If it's leading the way, it's gonna stay in the dimension that it is, the dunya, the false reality. It'll stay in the matrix. See, what's the matrix? Is the nafs, is the mind. But what controls the mind? See, it's that consciousness. Now, most people are controlled by their shadow, their nafs. So they're controlled by their urges. They're controlled by the outside stimulus. So in the morning they watch news, so it gets them at a certain vibration rate, of worry. And look at the wars out here, and it's a dog-eat-dog world. The bills, I got, and it's like depression is stuck in the dunya. It's like very dense. It doesn't allow it suppresses your soul. That kind of energy, and the way to work on that is when you work on the shadow, you know for a fact that this is an illusion dunya, and it's based on your reflection. Yes, dunya is happening through your eyes, not my eyes or anybody else's eyes, through your eyes. But see, your eyes are part of the deception too. The eyes, all they do is refract the light. See, the light is just the shadow. See, that's the shadow. So what you're seeing now, what you're seeing me is the reflection of my shadow. So when there's no light in this room, then my shadow has integrated with the darkness. And say I didn't do shadow work and I didn't understand this concept, when the light turns off, I would be really scared because, oh my God, there's something next to me. Oh my God, there's jinns around. Oh, there's spirits around me. Or it's like, or it's just, if you're into spirituality, because if you're only about science, only about like, okay, our body is a mechanism and it's just cause and effect, and you put this pill in here and it gives you this thing and it's just the physical body and that's it, then this talk isn't for you, because you are still, consciousness cannot be explained by science. And now they're talking about quantum physics, where the wave particles collapse by the observer, and I'm not going to get into that part, but it's all intertwined. See, there's nothing separate. There's nothing separate. Everything is one. This is my daughter's cup from some kind of circus. Anyway, so so what is it? So imagine once you integrate the shadow aspect of you and allow it to grow up and allowed to spiritually develop, because the concept of spirituality is very abstract to the nafs. It's abstract to science. That's why science can't go to that aspect, you know, because science, you need observation, you need proof, you need to recreate it in a lab. But thought, you know, thought, that's something that science can't answer. Consciousness, some sixth sense, you know, they cannot, they can't. But doesn't make science wrong. Science is very, very amazing tool for the dunya, for the physical part of the world, for the physical part of reality, for the seen aspect of reality. It is very, very beneficial. It's an amazing tool, but it can't lead the way. It's a tool working in conjunction with the ultimate understanding of darkness, where all light comes from the dark. So like I said, the prism, one light goes in the prism and it comes out as part of the light spectrum. What you can see, that's your eyes. It's a prism. But what light is going in? One light, all light. So darkness is going in, and based on your internal level of your internal light, are you getting it from the illusion, your knowledge, your understanding, your inner intuition? Are you getting it from the illusion? Or are you harnessing that inner intuition from the divine that is in you? Are you feeding that fuel and contemplating life and going within and seeing the illusion and seeing, okay, you know what, that's not me that really wants it. That's a part of me that wants to show off, that wants it, and trying to justify it by saying it's Islamic and this and that. You know, it's like, it's like when you work with your shadow self, you're working with your real desires and aligning it with the truth that you are special, that you can do anything you want. But is that wanting attached to physical things, prestige, money, security? Or is that wanting, like, knowing that this is why you came in this world, to bring about this change? If not in your lifetime, then your child's, or something you do that just, you just invent something. You want to just, not out of your arrogance, change the world because they have to do it your way. No, it's like you just tap into something higher and you just do it. And you become inspiration. You give light to other people. You know, where is that wanting coming from? If it's coming from the higher source, then that is your life mission, and you put in energy into that instead of energy into, oh, what is this person thinking about? Oh, why, you know, how will I be seen amongst my peers if I do this or that? Or, well, this person like me, you know, or will I get honor from this person or props from this person? And then you go on that route, you tend to lose yourself, your true authentic self, and you become just another AI, artificial intelligence robot. That's what you become, because that's what AI is basically. It's just, you know, cause and responses, you know, in the physical. That's it. You know, somebody looks at you like this, and then you respond to them, you know, in a like way. Or if you're shy and you always hide from conflict, you will become certain aspects of your shadow that you weren't even aware of. That you maybe had that response when you were 10 years old, and you're carrying on around that same response to you when a white female at certain age and attractiveness makes you into this kind of psychological being where you just become like, you know, put them on a pedestal, and or whatever, you know, psychologically what you do and how you start acting, vibrating at that instance. Imagine you have a boss that's like that, then everything you do is can be in the vibration, you know. It's not yours, it's hers. It's her vibrational reality, because you have submitted to, you know, allowing your emotions to dictate your actions, your thoughts. And see, the emotion is is a dunya thing, and we're not up from the dunya. We're from Jannah, right? And Jannah is in this life. It can only be at a state of mind. But see, when you make that state of mind that you are already in Jannah, if you were in Jannah right now, would you be doing these other things? No, you wouldn't. Would you be jealous? Would you be angry? Would you be putting crap in your body? And 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 no, you wouldn't be doing that in Jannah. So why are you doing it here? You know? But that's where your shadow, we have a shadow. We have that physical aspect of us that needs to be nurtured, that needs to be elevated with love and understanding, not the anger and suppression, because that's something. When you are angry at your shadow and guilty, then you will project that guilt onto your reality, and it's going to come back to you, you know, and you're going to stay in a dimension. You're going to stay in a certain cause and effect, you know, thinking things will change. That's why you have to deal with your shadow. You have to deal with all aspects of yourself and not repeat cycles over and over again. Because if you notice, every year, the same thing, the same major events happen in our community. Ramadan happens, okay? New Year's Eve happens. We make, you know, resolutions, and then we break them, and then then Ramadan comes up, and then we make resolutions, and then same thing happens as last year. We break them, and we say the same person, and then these cycles happen. But it's like we're always staying the same. That's because you have to deal with your shadow, and you have to deal with certain energies, and you have to go to that scary place where you've been told all your life that you cannot. Now, we've been told in our religious tradition that each person born is assigned to them a jinn, you know, a demon or a shadow. See, that's just our metaphorical understanding of the shadow. See, now we've made it so demon and scary and spookism that it's like it's an institution that has separated you from this knowledge that I'm telling you. It wasn't Islam that did this. It wasn't being, you know, it's the institutions that give you a certain understanding of Islam, because you're not doing the work, are you? You're not doing this. You're not going meditating within. You're not going X amount of days without talking to a soul. You know, some people do that. You know, I'm saying is I did that, but I did that in the dunya. I still have people I have to deal with, clients I have to deal with, family members I have to deal with, but I did it to the most extent I could. And I realized that a lot of times whenever we have free time, we always divert back to our shadow self. So like when somebody has free time, then they'll go in the kitchen and eat, or they'll go on TV. It's like, think about it, like when you stay away from the computer or the TV and distractions in the kitchen, then it's like you have a lot of time, hours to just meditate, contemplate. And that's what we do most of the time. Because if you're working 9 to 5, you're coming home, most likely you want to just go in from the TV and just kind of not deal with certain aspects of yourself. Like, oh, why did I do this? Oh, that was foolish of me. Oh, you know what, tomorrow I should do this better habit. We're not thinking like that because we don't want to think about the day, because we know that most of us aren't doing what we want to do. Most people are suppressing their inner light. See, when you suppress your inner light, you have to have light to see this reality. So you're taking on a lower light, a light from farther from source. See, all I'm saying is that it's the same light. It's just this light is farther than, you know, I don't know, let's see, this lamp here, right? So this light here is closer to the source than, you know, this light here. Okay, and if you can see from this light and closer to that light, you can go all around and kind of like put light on situations instead of relying on just a reflected light. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, they're talking about this in quantum physics, you know, and it's just that religious understandings, it's all Eastern, esoteric, mystical understanding. All religions are mystical understandings of high science, because angles and angels and demons, you know, polarity, you know, hot, cold, you know, like you have demons and then you have angels. Angels are are pure, right? And demons are like this unpure thing. No, it's just demons deal with the terrestrial energy of the nafs. See, the nafs only. And the angels deal with the higher self. Okay, but it's the demons met in your nafs, and the angel is met in your like your higher self, and they kind of work together in the dunya, and it's like you're aware, you know, you can. So when you know your own shadow, your own insecurities, um, your own nature, bad to good, then you can know it in everybody, in every single person, because it's written on your face, it's written in your eyes, it's written in your actions, it's written in your the way you dress, it's written in how you walk, and it's all subconscious. And there's people out there that can read that, and based on that, they can sell you something. They can tell what you want. That's why it's important to do your own shadow work, and it's an art. And like an artist, you have to have the right tools. You have to have the right canvas. You have to have the right understanding of color, and you know, water-based, oil-based paints. Like seriously, it's like you acquire the knowledge of all these different, as an artist, you know, the paintbrushes, and why is a foam paintbrush needed in this situation, but you need a horsehair one in this one. You know, it makes a difference. So that's my perspective, being Muslim, working with the shadow, working with the nafs, and this was part one, my perspective of what it is and why. You've shed light on the dark areas of your life to reflect a higher conscious. So you eat better foods to reflect a better, more healthy body that's more in tune with the senses. So now when you breathe in the air of the divine, some beach, you know, and if instead of having lungs full of like tar and nicotine from cigarettes, now if you quit, when you quit smoking cigarettes and you breathe, you're breathing in, you're getting more of your senses, the pure sense of that breeze, of that ocean. It's not in the dimension of the tar and the nicotine. You know, your awareness is higher. And then you and then as your physical awareness gets higher, your taste, your touch, your sight, your inner awareness gets higher, your intuition gets higher, your gut reaction is at an intuition level, then to your gut. See, not the gut, it's gut reaction. If it's hungry and survival mode, then it's gonna, you know, react towards what the bacteria of the gut is. But if your intuition is first, and then you, from your intuition, you tell your gut, you override it. You know, no, don't have the angry response, just have this response. But you know what? And this is why. And then it's like the nafs is just a vizier, you know, it's just a assistant. And it's like Batman and Robin. You know, Robin has some great ideas sometimes, but Robin is not the boss. Batman is. Okay, so you become the boss. Your soul is the boss, not your mind. Okay. Your mind is great at analyzing, but from the soul, you have to give it the parameters to analyze. Okay, everyone, that has been my understanding the art of shadow work in Muslim's perspective, part one. In part two, I'm going to be talking about how to start doing that shadow work and get into that awareness and what tools you need. And I'll tell you what, you don't need anything physical. It's all mental. There's things you have to, there's beliefs that you have to cut the string of, because it is a sandbag that is tying you down, and you're hot air balloon. You get a sore, all right, but you got to cut them slowly, one by one, all right. And it's not cutting where you're going to lose something. See, the nafs doesn't know. It only knows what it can see and sense. But the soul is connected to the divine, which is unlimited. Okay, so at the higher level, there might be 1,000 amazing things that can happen. But in the nafs level, you only think of 2 bad things that it's going to happen. You know, you just have to let go and let God. That's kind of what it is. But you can't do it in a foolish manner where you don't understand the divine principles, the divine laws, the light, the shadow, the tree of life, the Sifrat, the different tricks that are out there, how your mind works, how the synapses work, how there's inner dimensions, there's parallel realities, how you are creating this reality. And it's all happening in the construct of the matrix, the mind. And you have to break away from matrix, you have to break away from Saturn, you have to go past Saturn, you have to go past certain physical attachments. Not that you're going to lose it. You don't. You become, at first it seems like you lost something, but then you realize it was never there and it was never gone. It was always. And now it's just, it's an amazing journey. But part 2, it's going to be important, the tools and how to start on your own shadow work. This is not for the faint of heart. You will trigger emotions, you know, and it's really not for someone that really does not want to change their life, you know, or might not be ready right now, because this is some intense work, and it cannot not change your life. But if you are attached to the physical dunya and the illusion of what you've been told, then it's going to freak you out, and you might double down on the same, you know, mindset of, you know, rigidness and just like suppression. You know, this is purely my experience and what helped me, and what I've heard from a lot of other people, and this is of course my perspective, being raised Muslim in a Western civilization that is a Kabbalistic civilization, the structure of, you know, the physical, the West, you know, the Western, the esoteric traditions. The West signifies the nervous system. The nervous system deals with the physical illusion, because it's from the nervous system that the West views life from. And the nervous system has to do with physical, you know, which is not bad. I'm saying is that the East deals with the heart and the higher consciousness and the higher energies. But it's so East and West mixing. Where does the East start? You know, and where does West start? Where does the West start? White people, are they Western? You know, it's like, does it start in Bangladesh? What does that mean? Does it start in Iran? Does it start in Romania? Does it start in Russia? Like, where does the West start? See, that's what I'm saying. It's this mindset that we have become separated. Everything is separation. No, everything is unity. Then East and West is all one. See, there's no East and West. It's all one. So the heart, but you separate it internally. And then once you separate it, you reintegrate it with higher levels of physical dunya. So better foods, better thoughts. That'll reflect better situations, you know, not low level grime and frustration and anger and survivalism, you know? It's like you go to a higher consciousness. That's part 2. Okay, everyone, comment, let me know what you think, and please interact with me. And I'm not trying to force my views on you. I'm just giving you a perspective, you know, my unique perspective. and what I've gone through, and I can give you some light and use that as a tool to blaze your own path, your own journey, your own unique journey. Okay, take care, everyone. Peace. Assalamu alaikum.